Let it go.
That song fucking blows.
Monmouth and Ocean County malls, correct?
I'm going to New Jersey.
Fucking loser. Tired of turning the dial and not being able to find a fucking thing worth listening to?
I'm not gonna take this anymore.
Then it's time to kill your radio and get online with the Savage Crew. We're putting a stop to fuckery like this.
An epidemic we've been reporting on for more than a year now.
Internet users get outraged
I don't care
easily.
who he is. He should not have shot that animal.
The Washington Redskins to change their name, which many consider racist.
Hitting you right between the eyes with hot gobs of comedy, pop culture, politics, music, and dick jokes.
Fucking loads all over your fucking faces.
We've even got our own twink.
Oh, hey.
Now sit back, relax, and put the revolver down. Russian roulette is gonna have to wait. The Savage Hour starts right now.
Let's take the Chiefs.
That looks like a blood stain on the cover.
Oh shit. Yeah, like a fat fish version. Alright, yeah, Gary and I are in the kitchen for this edition of The Savage Hour. Say hi, Gary.
How's it going?
The reason we're in here is because I have to make some chicken, so I figured while I'm cooking my chicken, we could just podcast. It would be easier to do that. Gary, before we get started, I'll do the usual social media plug here. Facebook, The Savage Crew, Patrick Bateman is the avatar, and we got the big great white shark jumping up in the background on our wallpaper. At The Savage Crew on Twitter, and you can find me on Twitter as well, at Mike Montone. Gary's been cruising the current events lately. What are you interested in these days, Gary?
One thing that's sort of stuck out to me personally, and has been touched upon a little bit in the sports media world, stuff between the March Madness tournament, all the LeBron bullshit going on these days, and NFL 24/7 with the draft coming up. But this whole...
Speaking of which, did you hear about... did you see that thing with the Rams with Michael Sam?
Yeah, so what was that completely?
So I guess...
I didn't read the article.
I never realized this, although it makes sense. I guess NFL teams don't like being the Hard Knocks team.
Oh, yeah, this was the... Yeah, now I remember, yeah.
So what... I guess word has gotten out that the NFL said to the Rams... Because you got to remember when the Rams drafted Michael Sam, they were very deep on the defensive line.
Yeah.
So that people were just like, yeah, they're going to draft him, and he's not going to make the fucking team. So I guess the NFL picked the Rams for that reason and said, look, you're either draft him or you're doing Hard Knocks. And the Rams were like, all right, yeah, we'll draft him, we'll take him, because no one fucking wanted to touch him. And the NFL is like America's bad guy. Like,
yeah,
it's fucking ridiculous. Everybody hates, everyone. We need the NFL, but everyone hates the NFL. It's almost like they're almost like the federal government.
Yeah, Goodell is like the most hated man. Goodell is like the most hated man in America right now. Yet he's made so much.
He's also the most powerful
fucking money.
He's got the entire country by the fucking balls because he runs the NFL.
I mean, their brand itself is like fucking platinum right now. It's ridiculous.
So I guess the issue was the NFL didn't want... because it would have been a fucking PR crisis if he had come out of the closet and no team had taken him.
Yeah.
You know exactly... People would have been writing ridiculous articles on Huffington Post and shit about how the NFL just isn't there yet. And it would have... They would completely overlook the fact that he just didn't have NFL caliber talent.
Yeah, the LGBT community be going apeshit.
Yeah, because they don't know anything about football, and everything's about equality these days. Like, even when they're like, we need more women in the STEM fields. Well, women aren't going to them because they don't fucking want to. They want to do other stuff that, well, we need to reverse the system that convinces women not to be interested in science, technology, engineering, and math. Like, they don't fucking want to do it. Like, everything is this egalitarian shit where everyone has to be the same has just gotten completely fucking out of hand. And it was evidenced, I think, by the Michael Sam, sort of flopping out of the NFL, and he can't even handle the fucking CFL, which is like where your next tier guys usually go to play.
He was a decent college football player. Just because he was on a very good Missouri team.
Yeah, he got... Well, that's... I think part of the problem is... he was on such a... Like, he was the SEC Defensive Player of the Year, but that was very stat-based.
Yes.
And I don't want... Like, I'm not going to say, like... People... Like, the gay advocates don't know a lot about football, because that would be presumptuous, and I have no fucking clue. But
yeah.
I get the feeling that there's not a lot of, like, big-time football fans among the gay advocacy community. So it's, like, hard to impart to them that just because you get an award like that, you might actually still kind of suck.
Exactly. Yeah. He was a let's say a good college football player, but as anyone who follows football outside of the NFL knows, just because you're a good college player doesn't mean you got a shot. I mean, you look at even the guys that are drafted 4 through 7, and they're not even guaranteed a roster spot. That's how competitive it is. It's ridiculous. It's crazy.
I think the best way to frame it is that in any sport, there's going to be the best, and then there's going to be a lot of people who are very good, but aren't the best. And when you get to the highest level of competition, you have to be. It's not enough to be outstanding. You have to be the absolute, like, top of the top 1%.
Yeah.
Like the fucking Peyton Mannings of the world. Like, Michael Sam was just not... Like, everyone who has ever played a sport, your time comes when you can no longer advance as a competitor.
Yeah.
It's just the nature of athletic competition. So I think it's weird to people who have competed before and been competitive that, like, people couldn't understand that this guy just wasn't fucking... Like, you were a very good wrestler, I was a very good football player, but we both hit points in our athletic careers where we were no longer guys that were going to be, starters or make the team or whatever.
And the biggest thing is that it just, to hammer it home again, just because you were good or, an elite player at the college level does not mean it's going to translate over into the professional leagues. Look at Johnny Manziel. The guy was fucking unbelievable.
He might be.
He's probably maybe even a bigger bust than Michael Sam is in retrospect.
Well, the expectations for him were certainly much higher.
But it happens now. If you're watching the NBA tournament, the one white dude for what the fuck was it? Texas Sam Houston State, or whatever the hell it was. Texas Austin, whatever that purple team. I can't remember.
Oh, I know who you're talking about.
The white dude, tall guy, really athletic,
SF
Sam Austin. Yeah. Badass player, just carried the fucking team on his shoulders. But if you ask any legitimate pro scout, so he's not good enough to play in the NBA. He doesn't have a position.
Yeah.
So
that was the big issue with Sam and Manziel to a degree too. Like Manziel, I think probably you could have made the argument, or still could if he gets his shit together.
Yeah.
For him as like a punt returner or like a slot receiver, something like that, like where he's not going to be getting fucking rushed by defensive linemen. He's going to be running against safeties and corners.
Yeah.
I could see him doing something like that because you also wouldn't have to pay him as much. So if he does something stupid off the field, it doesn't carry the same financial
just cut his
risk.
ass and it's over with.
Yeah, Michael Sam, the issue was he couldn't even make he'd make a practice squad for a couple weeks and then he'd get cut.
Yeah.
I'm a Cowboys fan. He was with the Cowboys for a little while. And that was a team that needed help up front. Like, the Cowboys have been atrocious on the defensive line the past couple of years. So you would think if there's anywhere for a guy like Michael Sam to fit in, that's going to be the spot. But it was not the case.
Yeah.
So, you gotta be kind of careful when you take a sport like anything like professional sports, or acting's the other one where like people like are trying to force diversity in acting. Like, if you're a fucking good actor or you're the right actor for a role, would get picked. Like
Yeah.
Hollywood people just want to make money. They don't give a fuck about
Yeah,
what
who's
color.
black,
Yeah,
Asian, whatever.
the entire town runs on money, so people are just gonna do what sells.
It's also run by one of the most liberal groups in America, so it's, if anything, Hollywood's the one to promote diversity.
I've always found it very strange when they complain about a lack of diversity in Hollywood. Like, yo, that's the most liberal place on the fucking planet.
I have actually watched most of the movies that were nominated for Oscars and after or were in consideration, and I will say I watched Creed, and that it was a good movie, but that dude did not deserve to get nominated for Best Actor.
It's that I haven't even
Flat
seen
out, it was a good performance, but it wasn't anything like, wow, this guy was amazing. But the one I will say was in Concussion. Will Smith probably deserved to get nominated.
Really? 'Cause I heard that movie kind of sucked. Was
the
it
movie
good?
kind of sucked, but he acted
Smith
very
was
well. Yeah.
Okay.
So I can understand that, and it's Will Smith. The dude is, I mean,
Yeah, but I mean, I feel
Will
like
Smith,
a guy like
you know?
Will Smith. Is it possible that like people like maybe him and his wife just kind of pissed people off, and they
piss a lot of people off. They have big mouths.
It could have a million things.
They're Scientologists. They piss a lot of people.
Their
off.
fucking kids are the biggest assholes on the planet.
His son is the biggest.
I
fucking asshole
hate
ever.
that kid. I know it's wrong for an adult to want to hurt a juvenile, but if I met that kid, I would want to fucking punch him in the face. Like, he is such a little fucking douche. And I'm not saying this in the gay sense because I know that he always says weird bisexual sounding things and he cross dresses. But I'm saying this in the 1990s schoolyard sense. That kid is a fucking faggot.
Yeah.
He is such a little douche. Yeah.
And then, obviously his wife came out and said a lot of shit, so I mean...
Yeah. Then fucking Chris Rock... I think the joke he made was hilarious. He's like, you're in TV, you... What do you mean you're not showing up? Without Will, you're not even invited.
Yeah.
He's like, that's like me saying I'm not going to have sex with Rihanna. It wasn't a possibility to begin with.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, it's... Yeah. But, yeah, going back to your point, if you're good enough, you're good enough, and they will seek you out.
Yeah, the
If
NFL...
if you're not going to play.
The NFL and Hollywood are two places where if you can make people money, you're going to have consistent work.
Yeah. That's just the way it is, and I don't, I guess there's another future for Michael Sam. Whatever that is, I really don't want to know. But.
No, I mean, look, he seems like a very nice guy.
Yeah, he seems like a nice guy. Yeah.
He's been around football for long enough that he probably knows the game pretty well. So I don't understand why the logical next step for him wouldn't be coaching. He could run a fucking defensive line camp somewhere. He could get into the broadcast booth. I mean, especially now with all of the ESPN outlets there are, he could find something. SEC network somewhere. Somewhere there out there. There's a spot for the guy.
Yeah.
He was a popular player. Michael Sam should not be going hungry. It's just too bad. His playing career is probably over. He go play for a fucking semi-pro team or something like that. There's some good players playing at that level. There's arena ball. If he still wants to play or be involved in football, he can. The NFL just doesn't exist as a possibility for everybody.
Yeah. It's a league with a limited number of spots.
Yeah, so what else? We kind of got sidetracked. So you were starting to talk about Barrio's trip down to Cuba and the, so we'll call it, whenever Obama does something, I always like to call it the summit, because he did that fucking awkward-ass beer summit with that guy. Remember?
The Harvard professor?
Yeah, he got into a fight with a cop or something like that. Yeah. And he had that, creepy, cringy-ass, uncomfortable beer on the White House lawn in front of cameras.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this was the baseball summit for Barrio. What are you thinking about that? Because you're part Cuban, right?
Yeah.
And we used to have your mom used to do our Spanish projects for us.
Yeah, she did the projects for us. When my grandfather came here from Cuba, came here right as Castro was taking power. came up, found a way into the United States. He actually got caught, and they said, "Okay, we're going to send your ass back." This could sort of segue into what our immigration policy is today. But so they gave him the choice: go back or join the military. So he went in, joined the military. He said, I'm not going back. And he joined the military. And, eventually got his way, got an honorable discharge, became a U.S. citizen, worked for the U.S. Postal Service, etc., etc. Became a full United States citizen. So for someone like him, assuming if he was still alive, I think he had like 8 or 9 brothers and sisters. His whole family got torn apart because he had to leave. And if he was still alive today and he had to look at this now, like the U.S. president's going down there to shake hands with the Castro family, who's been in power since the 1950s and still has the same political position. I think it's hard. It's hard for a lot of people to understand why it's one thing if there was a regime change in Cuba and a new government came into place that was, non-communistic and, was more open towards, whatever you want to consider democracy, whatever. But this is the same regime that has been killing people for years and years and years, and I think there's a lot of people out there that are pissed off that our government is like, oh, let's go down there and play a baseball game. That'll make everything better. That'll wipe out the fact that they were allied with the Russians and fucking had nukes.
Do you think, because I did an article for American Military News about this with regard to some of their human rights issues. And Obama, one of the conditions for Obama to even go down there and to sort of begin this, re-engaging diplomatically with Cuba was that they would, free. I think they had something like 50-something dissidents locked up.
Yeah.
They had to free either there's all or a good number of them, or charge them with whatever before he would come down. And Obama's speech was all about opening up freedoms and everything to the Cuban people. I think he stood outside of a jail in Cuba and said, we need to get the political prisoners out of here.
Yeah.
So do you think that by going down, it's like a bitter pill to swallow? You don't like the Cuban government because of what they've done. However, if there's going to be a jumping off point where we say, look, we're going to try to make life better for people in Cuba, and the only way to do this is to sort of start engaging them.
Yeah, no, I agree with that sentiment. You got to start somewhere.
Because I think we've sort of seen what happens when we take a hardline approach with another
Iraq,
country. Yeah, we have
Afghanistan.
Iraq and Afghanistan are a mess.
Libya,
Libya's fucking destroyed. And then you look at and even other places where we've been where we've flexed muscle, but not necessarily used military, the Ukraine-Russia thing. Is it almost arrogant of us to think that our country can just tell another country, well, if you don't do this, we're going to essentially give you the silent treatment? Because I guess it makes us feel morally superior, but at the same time, we kind of leave the people of that country hanging because now they're just left to live under this socialist, communist, form of government where there's no chance for advancement there. If we get involved diplomatically, if we extend the olive branch, we say, hey, Cuba, we'd really like to work with you. You're a very close neighbor. It's a beautiful island. We could do booming tourism, business, etc. We could put a Major League Baseball team on Cuba.
Yeah.
It's not far away.
It's not far.
What is it's like going to play? If you're the San Diego Padres, flying to go play a team in Boston that's got to be farther than flying out of fucking Cuba.
Yeah, it's not that far.
So
from Miami, it's 40-minute flight or something like that.
Yeah, so it's essentially like going to play the Marlins. Mm-hmm. So is it worth it if this is simply the jumping off point of a decades long work on bringing a more kind of bringing Cuba up to speed. Because, I mean, they're lost. They're stuck in the 1950s down there with their cars and shit.
They're so behind.
So if this allows Cuba to modernize and gives the people a chance to move up in the world, would it then have been worth it?
Yeah, but the question is let's say there's some advancement of economic policy within Cuba. What percentage of that are their citizens can actually see? Or is it all going to go into the hands of the government and the top officials?
Well, I guess the idea is that the younger generations across this planet are far more... I feel like they're more open to, like, the whole idea of, like, unity and working together and doing that shit and sparking change where it's needed. So, with knowing how old the Castros are, I mean, these are not young people.
No, I mean, people question if Fidel was even alive, and then Raul is, like, fucking 85 years old.
Yeah, so knowing that there will eventually be younger blood coming up, for the younger Cubans to see a U.S. president coming down and telling the government, like, hey, like, you need to change some of these, you need to quit oppressing your people, you need to quit locking people up for opposing the government, we want to work with you and be allies like this. It's ridiculous to have a fucking trade embargo with a country so close that you could have such a profitable relationship with.
I agree with you.
Is it almost as though Obama is that he's there, he's shaking hands and sitting down with the sitting government, but it almost seems like he's there to address the younger generations and, like, the Cuban people in general. Because, I mean, what does he have to gain? He's out of office in a few months.
He has nothing.
Anyway, so it's not like the personal gain for Obama, I feel like, is minimal. This seems like, I get the impression that he's making a good faith diplomatic effort.
Mm-hmm.
Whether he's doing it the right way and being advised by the right people is probably something that we can dispute. But if the Cuban people are better off 20 years from now because Obama got the ball rolling on this, would we then look back and say that his taking in 9 innings with Raul Castro is worth it?
Yeah, you probably could say that. I mean, yeah.
I mean, and think about, like, even this is a stretched comparison, but, like, you got people like that you work with around the office who at work you're just kind of like, this guy's a fucking pain in the ass. I don't like the way he does shit. Like, he's annoying as fuck. But then say you have, like, a work outing where you go to a baseball game or something like that with a bunch of coworkers and you're drinking beers and watching the game together, and you're kind of like, oh shit, like, I can get along with this guy. Is not nearly as bad. If doing something like that, as opposed to, sitting, in a stuffy fucking office room, being incredibly, like, I think there might be some validity to the whole thing, and it humanizes both of them too.
Yeah, it does. And I guess all we can do is sit back and see how this unfolds, 5, 10, 15 years from now.
Yeah, I mean, and I think since we mentioning Cuba, I think it's a nice segue. Guantanamo Bay. Obama wants to close it, and the Republicans are going fucking ballistic. And I think this bears on part of the migrant thing into Europe, too. I don't see why we wouldn't close Guantanamo Bay. I mean, it's become nothing but a recruiting tool for jihadists.
Yeah.
It puts a target on the U.S., which we should be trying to, in addition to fighting terrorism, we should be doing things to prevent us from even being a target of those who would engage in terrorism, because it actually makes it easier then for us to fight the terrorists that are left, because there would ostensibly be fewer of them, and the few that would probably be less motivated to attack us if we don't sort of have these things that are causing them to dislike us in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
So we close it. You can still take guys who are in there, like your real bad guys, that you say, we want to charge this guy, or the people have been in there so long that the shit that they have information on is, they might know something about a fucking cave in Afghanistan. Like, that's not really doing anything for us. So why not? I mean, release them and monitor them for 5 years or whatever. Like the ones I think we traded for the that dickhead Bergdahl are going to be.
Yeah.
They're going to be monitored with, I think, ankle bracelets.
Yeah. He's not going to do it. He's not going to be able to do a fucking thing the rest of his life without it being watched.
Yeah, like, so... I don't understand why I wouldn't say, alright, well, there's 50-some-odd people left here in Gitmo. We're going to take the ones we want to charge, we're going to put them in supermax prisons in the U.S., and we're going to get the ball rolling on charges against them. The rest we're going to release back out into the wild, like... That seems to make the most sense. We can just shut this, like, erase this thing from the minds of the militant Muslim community. Because if you look at, the last few well-plotted, like, I feel like attacks that required a lot of coordination have all been in Europe or against Europe or Russian assets. You have the plane that was taken down was Russian, and then the last two, big bombings have been Paris and Brussels. What it looks to me as like an outside observer, I don't think Americans here in the U.S. are under as big a threat from terrorism sort of landing on our shores as that like the Fox News crowd will make you think is going to happen. Like, I don't think it seems like a long shot for ISIS to say, hey, we're going to try to infiltrate through your 24-month screening process for Syrian refugees to get in and then establish a terror cell, especially when everyone in your fucking country is like eyeing Middle Easterners suspiciously. It just doesn't fucking hold up to me that that's the big threat facing us. I think internally the bigger threat is some 20-year-old kid who gets radicalized via Twitter and gets his hands on a fucking gun that he steals from his dad's friend or so, or however he gets it. I think it's terrorism meets the deranged white guy mass shooter is our bigger threat here. And as we increase police presences, if you've been around Hoboken or Manhattan the past few days, it's a fucking groups of cops with assault rifles all over the fucking place. Like, wow. It makes you feel very secure. You realize that even if something does happen, the situation can be addressed very quickly. So, as Europe becomes the sort of bigger target, does it not make sense for us to sort of take a step back and say, hey, maybe we focus our efforts more so on protecting the homeland with good intelligence, and doing things to sort of not antagonize would-be jihadis. Well, look, the Europeans, they're saying like that they have like there are hundreds just waiting. 400
radicalized jihadists that are in lone wolves that are just all over Europe right now.
We don't have that problem.
No, we don't have that problem here.
I think, and we have part of it's because we have some standoff. Like, I think people get very confused about the migrant crisis. And the other thing that I think really needs to be said is that none of the people who are committing these attacks are Syrian migrants.
No.
They're homegrown Europeans.
Yeah.
They grow up in these neighborhoods in Brussels or Paris. They're not sneaking through the border. The ISIS doesn't have to do that. They'll have guys will go travel down to Syria and they'll come back, but I think that's more a symptom of the border issue at Turkey. That's not a, they're not sneaking in with the migrants. They're just fucking.
They're being allowed to freely travel.
Yeah, they're European citizens, so they're going wherever they feel like. The migrants. You see the fucking. These people aren't in position to do shit. They're causing problems for sure because there are so many of them.
It's tolerance of their culture, though, too.
That is an issue.
Tolerance of their culture, and it's the Belgian government over the last 5, 10, 15 years has just said, "Oh, we want to assimilate. Let them do what they want." I mean, that's what France has done for the last 10 years. In the last, 2 or 3 years, they're like, fuck this, we're done with this. We're not going to let you walk around with the fucking full garb on and shit covering your face.
Well, but you should be allowed to walk around. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I mean,
well, for your driver's license picture?
Well, for your driver's license picture, you should have to take it off. I mean, there's obvious, I think, this is a photograph, personal identification.
Yeah.
Or, show the face, it's not the full thing, or don't drive. But I think to say that, you can't wear that, or you can't... The free practice of religion is something that we should defend as an American principle, and if that involves wearing a hijab in public, that's absolutely fine. If it means, taking a break from work to pray or whatever, that's fine. Well, I think the issue becomes when they want to do, other things, like, the ones who actually think Sharia law should be implemented.
Yeah, exactly.
That's where the line gets drawn. Let's not... We shouldn't... They need to assimilate to our value system, but they don't have to necessarily adopt, our style. They can maintain... They can... It's this, do...
99% of them probably want to come here, practice here or Europe. They want to practice their faith. They want to raise a family, get an education, whatever, and live their lives. It's still 1% or less than 1%
the issue,
out of their fucking minds.
I think, and it might be... we say it's just 1%. It might be way more than that, because I think the Pew Center did do a poll, and it found that, like, you're looking at situations where anywhere from, like, 20 to 30, they support Sharia law, they support suicide bombings.
Yeah.
And these are even... And remember, even if they don't engage in this stuff, this Brussels attack, and the Paris attacks, these are guys who lived freely amongst their society. Like, if you can get the moderates the people who wouldn't take part in a terrorist attack, if you can swing them over to the side of hey, this terrorism is completely bad, they're the ones who can help you prevent these things.
Yeah.
That the neighborhood where the guys came from, I think it's called Molenbeek or something like that, in Brussels. They say it's essentially like what we would think of as the South Bronx here, I guess.
No-go zone,
except filled with an Arab Muslim population instead, and instead of dealing drugs and shit like what we see in our inner cities, they're fucking plotting jihad.
Yeah.
I mean, it's got to be explained that some of these ideas are completely unacceptable. They conflict with Western society, and I guess, like Germany, where it was New Year's Eve, where women were just getting attacked left and right.
Yeah, it was in Germany. I think it was Dusseldorf. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the answer to these people has to be, look, we want to get you out of this Syria. It's fucking... First of all, we would like to see you fight to take Syria back from these motherfuckers. The ones who are unable to, come on in. But if you're here, you need to assimilate to our cultural norms. Like, you're going to be able to freely practice your religion, but you're not going to be able to force your value system on us. You're going to, if you want to live here, if you're going to make this choice to live here, and we're going to allow you to do so, assimilate. Learn,
learn English, or learn whatever native language.
And even stuff like that's less of a big deal, I think, because look, this is the Jersey City Heights is filled with Hispanic people. Yeah. I hear more Spanish speaking when I'm walking around here than I do English.
It's the most bizarre neighborhood. You walk around and it's just a mixture of hipsters.
It is. This neighborhood,
and just like Colombian and like Ecuadorian immigrants.
Yeah, and down the street, Union City is the second highest Cuban population after Miami. But yes, it's not. I don't think it's that people want to that we should want to resist allowing these people to flee a very horrible place.
Yeah,
I think it should be more. Yes, you can come, but like the liberals, the ones who are really pushing for this acceptance of refugees, you got to be able to crack the whip on them and say, hey, there's certain things that you are used to that are not acceptable here.
Yeah, they don't want to.
They don't want.
It's fucking them in the ass.
I mean, it is the regressive left is like the new way to refer to them, because they're not actually progressive. Part of
equality means being open to criticism.
Yeah.
You know, if we can't criticize you freely, how can you say that you're equal? If you have to be handled with kid gloves, then obviously you're still different. You know, everyone should be open to the same criticism.
Yep.
But it doesn't. The rhetoric from guys like Cruz and Trump does not help on this shit, because it just makes, when they're the loudest voices, they're our representation around the world, and I think they make Americans more vulnerable with their rhetoric.
Yeah. No, I mean it's you hit it right on the point.
This does not, however, mean that, you know, we would accept. I think, and this is probably the most difficult thing I have with sort of the liberal view on Muslims and Islamophobia. And Bill Maher was talking with Cory Booker about it last night, and he couldn't get Cory Booker to say the word Islamic extremist terrorism or Islamic terrorism. Like, he just wouldn't say it because
he's towing his party line.
They're so afraid to upset Muslims that they just won't say it.
Yeah.
Like, it's fucking like ridiculous, and it's essentially they're pulling a Plaxico Burress. Essentially, they're just shooting themselves in the thigh here. Because what's going to happen is this Brussels shit. If there's more of these in between now and November, and the left doesn't come around on condemning not only terrorism but also the other shit, the way women are treated in a lot of Arab countries.
People forget about that. How they're below animals in those countries.
The way the way gays are treated.
Yeah,
the way,
gays as well.
The way
transgender, whatever.
Anyone is the way journalists are treated. The way anyone who dissents. I wrote
any non-Muslims. If you're a Christian, if you're whatever.
What's it called? I wrote another piece a couple weeks ago on an activist in Bahrain who's just thrown in jail for 3 years. Police came in and detained her and her 1-year-old son because she ripped up a picture of the monarch in Bahrain.
Yeah.
Her father's serving a life sentence for taking part in Arab Spring rallies. They were rallying for Shiite rights in a country that's run by a Sunni monarchy. I mean, these are not things that are acceptable in a fucking advanced society.
In the 21st century.
Like, liberals should be outraged by this shit, and yet they will not criticize anyone with a certain amount of pigment in their skin. It's fucking baffling.
Yeah.
It is just absolutely baffling.
They've got to take a harder stance on this, or they're going. Whether it's Cruz or it looks like it's going to be Trump, but if, like you said, if there's another attack between now and the national election, you can pretty much all he's got to do is come out and say, "I told you so." People are like, "Oh, fuck this! I'm not gonna." The Democrats don't want to address this. Fuck them. I'm not voting for them.
It's going to be what they're almost taking a little bit of the Bush era.
Yeah.
Tough talk on terror. And by the way, things under Obama, as far as national security go, have not been bad. The attacks that we've had inside this country have been they haven't been by really outside infiltrators.
No.
The chick in the San Bernardino attack came to the U.S., but it wasn't through the refugee thing. It was through a fucking marriage.
Through a marriage.
It was the way you would circumvent our refugee policy, because it takes 24 months to get into the country like that. And then I don't know how easy it's going to be for a Syrian refugee to get their hands on a firearm in America.
Yeah.
Because the nice thing about the gun people in this country, they're all kind of nuts. However, they got that little bit of racism.
Yeah, they're a little racist.
That fucking... There's not a fucking chance you're getting a weapon. Like, these guys...
A high-powered rifle or something.
The San Bernardino guys were like... they've been living in America forever and, like, had American friends to get it from. Like, so I think I think the threat from Syrian refugees is just entirely overblown. The Boston bombing and San Bernardino were both. I mean, those people were assimilated Americans who were living here.
They played sports. They went to schools.
They fucking smoked weed and partied. Like, I think so. Instead of fear mongering and saying, they're coming for us, like they're gonna come across the border, like I told you they was sneaking in. I think we should look internally and say, why are otherwise normal citizens being radicalized?
What country of 320 some odd million people, and there are fucking lunatics out there.
Yeah,
people are going to die. It's what it is.
Absolutely true. And I was watching this documentary on like HBO maybe about homegrown Islamic terrorists, like young guys who have been arrested inside the U.S. and they had one of the former counter-terror heads for the FBI on saying he was like, there are so many more things people in this country should be worried about before they worry about a fucking terrorist attack. Like, it's obviously he's like, it's a concern for me because I'm the one who has to deal with it every day. But I'm telling you, like, knowing what I know, there's just no, like, could it happen? Sure, but the odds, like, there's so many things. He's like, you should be worried about getting hit by a drunk driver. You should be worried about obesity. You should be worried about climate. He's like all these fucking things,
shit that they put in the food.
Yeah, that we should be worried about before terrorism becomes an issue. He's like your chances of getting struck by lightning are better than your chances of being killed in a terrorist attack. Yeah, and I think we've become like almost people have become hyper vigilant in the U.S. I mean, the NYPD has gotten so fucking good at it. They bust everything before it happens. Yeah. So when you hear guys like Ted Cruz say shit like he wants to like set up patrols in Muslim neighborhoods and shit like that, like I think I understand what he was saying. Like, we need an increased police presence in heavily Muslim
areas. We do that shit already. We're doing it under the radar.
Yeah,
we've got CIA. We probably fucking
we have an internal security apparatus. Like, we're not gonna fucking, for the sake of making a few rednecks feel good about like their safety, in places which, by the way, will never get fucking attacked anyway. Yeah. No one's
going to Kansas to blow anyone up.
Yeah, no one's... we're not looking at jihad in Topeka, okay? Like, it's here. We're the ones that are going to have... It's us, it's D.C., it's Los Angeles, Chicago, maybe Miami.
Austin,
what's the big port city in Texas? Is it Austin or Houston?
No, Houston.
Houston, they're a big one. Not these. It's amazing how the people who are the most worried about this are the people who are at the least risk of getting hurt. They're just so wrapped up in country music and bush light that they think they need to continue fighting for freedom. But talking about Muslims in this country the way you talk about like the Japanese during World War II, or the way the Germans talked about the Jews during World War II does not help the situation at all. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't be suspicious of Islam, because we absolutely should. There's some serious fucking problems within there. Yeah. But I think it's how we approach it, and I think the left does a terrible job of explaining that to the right and to the center, because the left comes off as such fucking pussies when talking about it, because they won't call the religion out. We have freedom of religion in this country, but we also have the freedom to question religion. Yeah. I think when religion is causing people to blow themselves up in public places, we might be past the time of having the talk, so we better sit down and have the fucking intervention.
Yeah. Totally agreed.
Do you need another beer?
I'm good right now. I'm good. But yeah, going back to it, I mean, if anything, Edward Snowden taught us all that any stupid little Facebook message you send, anything you do is probably being recorded in some way, shape, or form. Yeah. So if Ahmed comes over here from Libya and he's holed up somewhere in, somewhere in Manhattan somewhere, somebody is fucking watching him probably.
Yeah, there's very little chance. And I think a lot of the times when we hear about these busts, like they catch one in the U.S., a lot of times it was someone who, like the FBI, like a field agent will they'll find a guy who they think is kind of vulnerable, and they'll fucking basically take him down before he even gets they'll. I don't want to use the word entrap, but they'll fucking. They'll start talking to him in the mosque.
The Patriot Act gives them every right. They could pretty much do what the fuck they want.
Yeah, and I guess to a point, because it's better to catch a would-be terrorist, get him off the street, because usually you don't see a lot of old terrorists. They're usually younger guys.
Yeah.
So is it better that a guy who's on the verge of committing jihad get caught by an FBI agent, spend 10 years in jail, and hopefully it flushes from his fucking system. He takes some college courses behind bars, shit like that, and changes.
He gets laid. That's what happens. He gets laid, and then he goes
in jail.
He gets fucked
definitely
in jail.
gets laid in jail. a lot of Arab dudes are like that too. They get into that fiki. Yeah, that's the other thing. I think that's a big problem in the Middle East is lack of fucking pussy, and they joke about it in that HBO show Generation Kill.
Yeah.
But I think that it's reasonable to say something. You got women walking around covered from fucking head to toe. If you're fucking on a regular basis, you're pretty much good on all accounts.
Yeah, life is not bad.
If you at a minimum have that going for you, nothing else is gonna bother you. Just whatever, I don't give a fucking shit.
You'd have to really be fucked up to then want to blow yourself up.
Yeah. So if we could get, and I think that's part of the reason why it's so important to get these countries to sort of liberalize and quit oppressing women and shit, is because if those guys start getting laid on the regular, and you got chicks walking around in booty shorts, and everyone's fat and happy and fucking, you're not gonna blow yourself up.
Yeah.
They're blowing themselves up to get to the virgins.
Yeah.
If we have the women down on earth to have sex with them and have fun with them, they're not gonna want to blow themselves up. So and Middle Eastern chicks are the ones that are put together are
you would never know because they're all covered from head to toe. But once you take it off,
the ones you eventually do get a look at are
there's some beautiful women over there. Beautiful women.
Well, because they all have tan skin.
Yeah.
They have dark hair. They have nice eyes, and they have a lot of them have very Kardashian style bodies.
Yes.
So that's a nice combination.
Yeah.
You're essentially the region is a bunch of chicks who look like the Kardashians. The Kardashians are Persian, so that's not far off from the Arabs.
Not that fair. Although they don't want to be the Persians themselves don't want to be associated with Middle Eastern, but Arabic.
Yeah, regionally though.
Yeah, regionally it's the same vicinity.
Yeah, stone's throw.
Yeah.
So think about the difference between a region where you're going out and partying and banging chicks who look like Kim Kardashian or whichever particular Kardashian daughter you're into, versus a region where you're walking around and every woman is covered from fucking head to toe in a giant ghost outfit.
Yeah.
You're gonna have a different outlook.
It's gonna warp your fucking mind. Just think if you're a guy and just think you haven't jerked off or whatever, had sex, whatever, in weeks. You there's something your brain chemistry gets fucked up. You get warped, and I don't know. For these guys, they're being oppressed because of or holding themselves off because of whatever religion that they're blindly following.
Yeah.
So just imagine you have this internal struggle where your body and your mind is saying, you need to ejaculate, and then the other side of the spectrum is saying no,
this is evil.
This is evil. This is women are demons in that regard. This guy's gonna have some fucked up view of the world. really fucked up view of the world.
Yeah, if you start getting guys like that with nothing else going on for them, if you start getting those motherfuckers laid, I think we'd see a dramatic drop in suicide bombings. No one's gonna be like, I could stay on Earth and I could bang chicks, or I could fucking blow myself up and be in pieces scattered around If you have the option to blow yourself up and not bang versus not blow yourself up and bang, you're gonna take banging every fucking day.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Speaking of banging, what we were talking about discussing sexual deviancy as we enjoyed doing. What do you got in mind on that front? We did have a nice chat about dudes who have cuckold fetishes down the shore one day. Would you care to educate the listeners on that one?
Yeah, I mean, if you're human in any sort of way, I'm sure you look or have been on porn, or some form of porn. I mean, if you're not, I mean, maybe you're one of those guys, or guys especially, that is like following this like no fap shit, and or saying like porn is, and I sort of agree to some extent. Watching porn on a consistent basis will
desensitize you.
Yeah, it will desensitize you.
I found that to be like the biggest thing that porn does is like you still like you'll like see a chick and like you'll want to bang her, but like it's not like when you're a fucking teenager and everything gets you chubbed, because for us like the last fucking how long has streaming HD porn been around? Like
real high quality?
We're going on almost 10 years.
Yeah,
now,
almost
right?
10 years. Yeah.
That's if you're like a weekly porn watcher, and since men are visually stimulated, that's a lot for a chick to live up to, I guess.
And it's sad. Like I think what I've read is like it's the ultimate dopamine release. It's like you're like it gets to the point where like a normal interaction with a female or a male, whatever it is, like just can't live up to what you're experiencing through visual stimulation. So but we're getting kind of sidetracked. But for those of you who have ventured into porn, the big thing, at least for myself nowadays, that I see all over the place is this cuckold shit that is like everywhere. I mean, it seems like back in the day, like 4 or 5, maybe 10 years ago, it was like the big thing was anal. And now anal's like pretty much like getting a hand job these days. It seems like, any chick who does porn is getting fucked in the ass in combination with everything else they do.
I'm big into lesbian porn. Just straight, like, give me a nice, like, I'm like a big fan of like the Cougars and Cubs shit is fantastic. You like a nice MILF banging a college girl. They go at they'll get a little 69. Little trimming, and then they hit it with a vibrator or a strap-on to wrap things up. Yeah, that's probably my favorite genre, I guess I would call it. But yeah, it's you can go into Pornhub now and get anything. There are categories within categories.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, there are categories and categories. But it does seem like this cuckold subcategory has like developed into its own world, and it's like, for a lot of you who don't understand it really, and I've tried to understand the psychology of it, but there's sort of two facets to it. You have your normal.
Well, explain what cuckolding is first. I think some people aren't.
Cuckolding is a man who enjoys, or gets off to the idea of his woman or his man. We'll stick to straight couples for these examples. Gets off on them having sex with other people. It's a gratifying experience to them. So you'll probably, if you come across it, you see a lot. Like the big thing is a lot of these just middle-aged white dudes watching their girls get fucked by black dudes. Like it's like the big thing, because it's like here's my bitch of a white middle-aged white husband who's like with a small dick that like barely works, and then Tyrone is gonna come and fucking rock her world. So that's like probably the most common thing you see. But for the most part, from a general perspective, it's it's these guys who like get off on it, whether or not it's they actually have like some gay tendencies and like fantasize about the other guy, or being involved with another guy and a woman at the same time. It's more or less these guys get off on the degradation, like being abused mentally and psychologically. So you have like these beta dudes that are like literally their wives are like, I'm gonna go fuck this other guy and come home and I'm gonna and then maybe you'll have a chance at me. And these guys like love it. These guys love it. And then you have like the other side of the spectrum, the more alpha cuckolds, and you more or less see this with like dudes that are prominent, like have money or have some kind of status in whatever. And they almost like see their woman as like a prized possession and don't mind sharing her with other dudes and like almost get off on it because they know at the end of the day she's coming back to them regardless. So it's multifaceted, but what you commonly see is like the idea of like, hey, this dude is he can't satisfy his woman, so she's gonna fuck this other guy with a huge dick.
Jesus,
and,
I can't even. I can't even imagine. First, the mental torment of the two different things. One, I guess, not being able to get your chick off. That alone would be enough to drive me fucking nuts and make you feel like less of a man. And then you add to that she's getting fucking roped by another dude who is getting her off, like, fucking psychologically, that must be that's a fucking beating. Like,
well, there's like I said, there's guys out there, and you could browse the web like outside of porn and try to find real world examples of it. And there's a lot of guys out there that are, like, it's what turns them on is like my girlfriend is out there like getting fucked by multiple guys and like but comes back and it gets much sicker, but. That's the psycho. I don't know what's with these guys. How
does it get sicker? Like, what's the next step? Since you said it gets sicker, what's
like some guy like it gets to the point like they'll be in the room and like the. I guess it depends on the female. Some will be like more passive about it and like be accepting of this thing because obviously there's women that might get tired of their guys or might. There are women that are whores that want to have sex with multiple guys and they use this as an opportunity. But there's some, that are passive with it, and then there's some that are more aggressive in that they want to have their cuckold husband or whatever in the room, and then the bull, as they call it, the guy, the alpha male who's doing whatever to her, finishes or whatever, and the cuckold has to then go put his face in between her legs and clean up. This is the kind of shit that goes on.
You mentioned that. So when I was stationed down in Quantico, we used to go out in D.C.
Mm-hmm.
And I was at a bar, and I started making out with this chick, and she's like, "Do you want to get out of here? Like, you want to go back to my hotel?" I was like, "Absolutely."
Yeah.
So we go, and first we stop at a CVS to pick up condoms, and then I get back in the cab and we get dropped off at it's a pretty nice hotel down by all like the embassies and shit. She said she was in town to look at grad schools.
Yeah.
And I get out, like the cab driver gave me a fucking high five. He's like, "Yeah, I know what's up." He's like, "You know, fucking slam that pussy." I was like, "Absolutely."
Yeah.
So all right, so we go up to her room and the lights are off, and I go to take a piss and I come back out and she's just like in her underwear on the bed and. We fucked for a while. Like, I went, like, you're drunk, like condoms come off pretty easily because, like, you go, like, hard, you're, like, from hard to soft all
yeah.
So, like, we got to the point where I was, like, fucking raw dog hammering her from behind. And, I finish, like, I go into the bathroom, like, I just fucking raw dog the complete straight shit. It's like, I should probably hit this dick with some hot water.
Yeah, hot water.
So I like rinse it off. I come back and I turn the fucking light on, and in the other bed in the hotel room is just some fucking Indian dude like sleeping in a fucking sweater vest and khakis. I'm just like, what the fuck is going on here right now? Like, I look at the chick, I'm like, who the fuck is that? She's like, oh, like that's like my friend Ravi. Like, he's really into me, but I refuse to hook up with him. But yeah, he's the one who drove me down to DC. I was like, so I'm gonna get out of here now. Yeah. She's like, and she fucking turned on me. Then she's like, why are you leaving? Like, did you give me an STD or something? Like no, I'm leaving because there's a fucking guy sleeping in that bed. I'm not gonna fucking wake up here the next morning and be like, oh, hey, bro.
Yeah.
So,
hey, Ravi.
So I went downstairs. It was like 5 o'clock in the morning at this point. I went downstairs and went to sleep on like a couch in the lobby. And like 2 hours later, I wake up to like I'm surrounded by fucking middle school kids, like on a field trip, like waiting to get on their bus. Like I wake up and I just look around. There's like 24 fucking 8th graders standing around in a circle, and it's a fucking security guard poking me. He's like, "Hey man, you can't sleep here."
Yeah.
So I went to the desk and they called me a cab, and I went back to my friend's house, and we all took off. It was an Indian chick that I had banged, and so like my boys were like, hey, they were staying at like this chick I went to college with lived in DC, so we would just go crash at her place on weekends. So we were over there, and we get in the car, like, what the fuck happened? I was like, well, fellas, I guess you could say I took a little trip to Punjabi last night. I still have no clue what the fuck went on. Like, I don't know if it was some sort of like cuckold thing, or if that dude had like if he had gone out with his buddies and blacked out and passed out in the bed, and she didn't even like realize he was there or whatever. I still have no fucking clue how that scenario unfolded. Like, it's a pretty solid bang. I'm not gonna lie, but it was,
I mean, it would have been it would have been a better story, but not an ideal situation for you if like you're in the middle of fucking her, and like you just feel like you just hear like feel breathing on your neck behind you, like what the fuck?
You just hear a fucking belt unbuckling, and you're like, who the fuck is like? Oh, that's just Ravi. Don't worry.
Or if like you like heard something, you just flipped on the light, and he's just like gently masturbating on the bed.
Doing the fucking 5-knuckle shuffle.
That's when you're like, all right, I'm done doing this kind of shit. I'm done.
Oh man, yeah, dude. It was far from. I had a nice like my first year and a half or so in the Marine Corps before I went to Iraq. Like, is just filled with stories like that. Yeah. And then when I got back to like Okinawa, there weren't a lot of American chicks around, so I went like it was like a lengthy drought, but not because like. In Southeast Asia, strippers will give you hand jobs and shit for free, like, or like bar girls like jerk you off for free. It's like it was like a drought, but it wasn't a drought because there was female contact. It was like professional female contact, I guess is the best. So like, but that was more like because of circumstance. Like there just are no chicks out there because the ratio is just so fucking skewed.
Speaking of the military, because it's sort of. It's not exactly the porn channel, but so I was reading something about like, and I know in the Marines, I don't know how many women. I think this is more of a prevalent issue within the Army itself. But so I hear all these stories of like Army dudes that are like, if a chick goes into the Army, like. It's over. Like if she had a boyfriend or a husband or something, it's like that chick is probably getting gangbanged.
Okay,
like
here's the thing.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna say that it's every single.
Yeah,
one,
not everybody. Yeah,
but it's prevalent. First of all, here's the thing, and it's not just the chick's a whore. Like that might be part of it because the kind of woman that joins the military is probably like bolder, more independent, like. And which in a human being means they're more open to like engaging in like free sexual shit.
Gangbangs.
But think about it, like the majority of them are like you're like 18, 19 years old, your hormones are going fucking nuts, and you're spending an excessive amount of time around very confident guys who are in very good shape.
Yeah.
And most of the chicks are in better than average shape, because they're not like the fat people in the military are. They exist, but they're rare.
Yeah.
So, the conditions are essentially ripe for people to just fuck like crazy.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, if you're a dude and your chick's like, oh, yeah, I'm gonna join the fucking Army or the Air Force or whatever, like, good luck, bro. Like, it's... Because, I mean, the military, like, it's not like a 9-to-5 job, like, where you go home at the end of the day, like... The military is like you fucking live together, like you do everything, you eat, sleep together. Those are the conditions that set people up to wind up banging.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, that's part of the reason that people are kind of like, with this new movement that the DoD is now making everyone open up combat jobs to women. That's part of the reason that people are like, this is a retarded idea, because now people inside of combat units used to be all male.
Mm-hmm.
Now they're going to have women in there. Like, units with males and females are fucked up because people start banging, jealousy starts flying.
Yeah.
And just shit, it turns into a fucking clusterfuck. And this is going to... In the past, like, it wasn't probably... Like, if a supply unit has that issue, like, it's no big deal. Oh, what happened? Like, the order for... The fucking fresh order of pens got fucked up. Like, big deal. But that happens in a mortar section or some shit like that. Like, we got some fucking problems.
Mm-hmm.
And that doesn't even get into, some of the, physical stuff. Like, you just can't send a woman to do a fucking man's job physically. That's not sexism. That's just science.
Yeah.
I'm around 195, 200 right now. Like, I could manhandle 99% of the women on this fucking planet.
Yeah.
So you come up against a guy like me in combat, like, you're gonna have issues. Like, the Taliban and ISIS don't have women fighting for them because they don't worry about equal fucking opportunity.
Yeah.
Like, they just worry about killing people, seizing terrain, and advancing their cause.
Yeah.
So if the job of the infantry is to kill people and seize terrain, then we should be giving that job to the people who are the most physically qualified, and the most physically qualified for that are men. Like, it just makes fucking sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm all for letting, like, you shouldn't prevent women from doing shit just because they're women, but there are certain places where that rule applies.
Yeah.
This whole fucking everyone is the same thing is very, very frustrating.
No.
Shit wasn't like that when we were younger either, I feel like.
Nah, I mean, it was started, but I think it's really ramped up in like the last 5 years.
Relatively speaking, it was still a little sperm swimming towards the egg, I guess, when we were younger.
Yeah.
Like, it was...
It was in the fertilization process.
Yeah, it was on its way towards existence, and then... Even through, like, the 2000s, like, it wasn't terrible. Like, it was, like, I guess what happened is the kids who grew up from the late 90s to the 2000s who are in college now are the ones who really got caught in that first wave of it.
Yeah.
And we're now seeing the manifestation of it on college campuses and shit.
I honestly kind of... you could laugh at millennials or just criticize them. And I mean, technically, we are millennials. I think the way the shit is breaking down.
We're in by like a year.
We're in, yeah. We're slipped in at the beginning of the millennials.
We're on the high end. Like, even the millennials don't like people our age.
Yeah. We're the fucking outcasts. But you almost feel bad for them because all these kids grew up their whole lives. They all had like parents that were telling them like, "You're the best. Like, you deserve the best." They all were told, like, everybody has to go to college and all this other bullshit. And now so many of them are so fucking lost. And they don't know how it works. I mean, look, the school systems have coddled them their whole lives. Organizations, sports, whatever. You get into the real world, companies need to make money. They don't give a fuck.
It's a generation that's been fucking rewarded for showing up.
Yeah.
Like, I remember, like... I played Pee Wee League. We kept score. That's Pee Wee League was like our pitching machine league. Like it's your first exposure to baseball. We kept score in those games. Like if you were the fucking home team and you were down in the 6th inning, you got last licks and you knew if you fucking won. Like, and we were obsessed with it. Like we'd ask before the game. Like we'd ask our coach like, "Yo, so we get last licks today in case we're down by a run or two." Like we fucking knew. Like we wanted to win the fucking game.
Yeah.
And we were all very competitive with each other. And then, like, I remember a couple of years after that when my brother got into Pee Wee League, they weren't, like, I'd go down to the games, I'd be like, "What's the score?" They're like, "Oh, we don't keep score anymore."
Yeah.
Like, wow, why the fuck don't you keep score?
Yeah.
Like, teach them about that now.
Teach them about losing. Kids need to learn what it is to fail.
Yeah.
You know, I would, if neither of us knew what failing was, we'd probably be in a fucking gutter somewhere.
Oh, yeah, especially, like, you and I are in a unique position because, like, we're probably two guys who weren't supposed to be as good at sports as we wound up being. We both just put an excessive amount of work.
It's not even just sports; it's everything in life.
Yeah, well,
if we did fail,
I think so much of it is manifested in sports.
Oh,
like it's just like the
most
visible
part of our lives,
example. Yeah. And like you and I are both very like undersized, kind of tiny guys. But like you with wrestling, me with the football stuff. I think we both sort of overachieved because we were willing to spend an excessive amount of time working at getting better.
Yeah.
And if we had been rewarded just for showing up, I don't know that we would have ever had the impetus to do that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. If you don't realize that, you know, there's a winner and a loser, you'll never strive to get better in some aspect.
Oh, and the other piece of it is that you don't thicken your skin. Like when guys like you and like Evan were walking around the hallways in high school with like cups so you could spit in them to lose weight before
I did
weigh in.
Actually, yeah.
Oh, you on the fucking Rip Fuel and shit.
Yeah.
Ridiculous. I used to say that shit before football games.
I love that stuff. Yeah.
But like, if you don't go through that discomfort while you're like growing up and like learning how to adapt and fight through shit, then you get what happened at Emory University this week. Have you seen what was going on there?
No, I did not.
So someone wrote like Trump 2016,
the Trump and Trump.
Embrace the inevitable or some shit like that. And if you're on a college campus, there is shit drawn in chalk on everything. It's sort of even if you're not supposed to do it, it's sort of like accepted. Like college students will always chalk stuff up, and no one gets in trouble. It's not a big deal. They were holding fucking protests, and they were demanding that the president of the school issue a letter saying that like he didn't agree with what was written because this was great. Like, I think one of the students said some shit along the lines like, "We understand like that like these people have the right to vote for whoever they want to because of the First Amendment," which, by the way, the First Amendment has nothing to do with voting.
Yeah.
But like we also have the right to like feel comfortable or some shit, which you absolutely that's not a right that anyone has. You know, there's no right to not be offended.
Yeah.
There is no right not to be your right to not be offended stops where my right to freely express myself in any way that I choose begins. You don't get to silence people because something that they said makes you feel uncomfortable. If you don't like what someone says, then what you can do is go somewhere else so that you can't hear what that person can say, or you can offer a counter-argument. What you can't do is attempt to shut them up on the grounds that they've violated your safe space.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's... Well, I mean, you're about to get married. Like, the prospect of having a child grow up in this world... Like, obviously, like, I want to have a kid one day. Like, it would be cool to, like, you know, coach Little League, watch him grow up, see what he becomes. Like, it's your contribution to the planet, extend the bloodline, you know, all the reasons that we reproduce. But the idea of raising a kid now and, like, having him go to school in a place where, like, So, you know, some kid gives him shit on the playground, and your kid shoves him, knocks him on his ass, and all of a sudden he's being told that what he did is like it's fucking horrible because it's. I feel like we hit a sweet spot in like the late 80s through like the 90s where we were kind of doing things right.
Yeah, people still had balls.
People still had balls. We were empathetic.
Yeah.
But we had balls too. Like there was sort of like it was like a logical application of sensitivity and balls. Things hit a perfect mix, and then we went way too far off in the sensitivity direction.
Yeah, it's something. It's something you could definitely think about raising a kid in the pending generations. But I guess you could look at it two ways. You could look at it like, fuck this. I'm not raising a kid in this fucking world that we live in today and whatever direction it's headed in because of all the bullshit. But then you could also look at it.
You shouldn't want to not raise a kid because other people are idiots.
Yeah, but then on the other hand, you can look at it as so many people are so offended by everything and don't want to work hard or think that they're owed something. That if you raise the kid right and he just, he or she does the right thing and works hard, they'll probably have an even better chance of succeeding in the future.
And that's like sort of like my view on it. Like I definitely want to have a kid. Hopefully, you have a couple boys, maybe a girl to balance things out.
Yeah.
But like if I have kids, like I'm going to teach them about winning and losing. I'm going to teach them to defend themselves. And the other thing that I really think is getting lost on these kids is because of the fucking phones and shit. They don't read.
No,
they all play fucking games and watch videos on their fucking phones and shit. I feel like if you can get a kid reading from an early age, like you're really setting them up for success down the line.
Yeah. I think you could use the phone or the iPad as a vice these days. For a lot of parents, it's easy to shut the kid
up. It's a crutch.
Yeah, it's a crutch.
Yeah. Give a fucking book instead.
Yeah. Do anything. Just go outside. I don't know.
Yeah, go outside. Like, if you can get your kid... I feel like if you can get your kid physically active for an hour a day and get him to read for an hour a day, even if you have to, like, negotiate with them, like, and be like, look, like, here's the deal. You go outside and run around for an hour, and then you're going to read for an hour, and then the iPad's all yours. I think if you incentivize it, it's fine.
I don't agree with people who are like, you're not playing Xbox at all.
Yeah.
Like, fuck it. The kid does his work and does, what he's supposed to do and, does some exercise. Fuck it. Let the kid... If he wants to play an hour Xbox or whatever, who gives a shit? I mean,
it's probably good for his brain, too.
It's probably good for his brain anyway.
But yeah, and, like, well, there's this massive debate, too, over, like, they call it free-ranging kids, which
I haven't heard that before.
That's because when you and I were kids, it was just called growing up.
Oh, okay.
Like, you know how, like, we'd get up in the morning when we were, like... for me, it was from, like, the minute I figured out the neighborhood, I would walk around the neighborhood by myself doing whatever the fuck I felt like. But, like, through our later elementary school years, like, you jump on your bike.
Yeah.
Your day was being out, riding your bike, like, hanging out with your friends, like, doing stupid shit. And everyone knew, like, they just had to be home between, like, 5 and 6 to eat dinner with the family, like, during summer vacation or whatever. Like, that now is known as free-ranging.
Okay.
There's a term for it because it's become so, like, sort of, like, it's not really acceptable in a lot of parenting circles where parents are getting in trouble for it. So there's now a movement out there where parents are saying, I want to free-range my kids. Like, I want to let them fucking learn. Like, you should free-range your fucking kids. Like, it's a thing that you should do. Like, don't shit. Like, I don't remember any time when we were growing up, and we spent a number of summers together riding our bikes around town. And we did stupid shit, but I don't remember any time when we were in any kind of real life-threatening danger.
If we were, it was because we put
ourselves things up.
We put ourselves in those situations.
Like, I can recall maybe a time or, like, I'll put it this way, the percentage of times that we almost got hurt relative to the amount of times that we went out
very small.
Was very slim. I know there's one sticks out in particular with me and Roberto. I was fucking riding on his pegs down, I want to say it was Maple Ave, heading towards Ridgewood, and he fucking rode in the street and there was a bus coming at us, and every once in a while I can like still remember the bus coming at us. But even then, like, I'm pretty sure we missed the bus by, like, it was probably still like a good like fucking 100 feet or some shit. But like, it just looked because like we hopped up onto the curb and like the bus like then whizzed past a few seconds.
Shit.
But still like, instances like that are obviously not the safest thing in the world, but they're rare and they develop. I mean, every other animal on the planet goes through this.
Yeah.
And it's how you adapt and learn to live in your world without, being a little bitch, basically.
Yeah, I mean, accidents happen, shit happens. I mean, there's no way you can prevent that to a certain extreme, but, I mean...
Like, how perfect of a game was Pick Up and Slaughter for developing a child into
that was a great
not
game,
a pussy.
Yeah.
Like, you have the ball, and you're going to take a beating while you have it, and you will hold on to it for as long as possible. And that's how you become tougher, and then when the other person has the ball, you will beat the shit out of them, and that's how you gain confidence that you too can handle yourself physically. Like, what a great fucking game.
You can't even play, they don't even play dodgeball anymore, I mean...
Well, because it singles people out. Yeah,
it
singles people out, and it teaches them to not be little fucking fags.
Yeah. The weakest ones go out first, so...
Yeah. Or just fucking, if that's it, play prison dodge then.
Prison dodge is the shit.
That's a great way to build like
teamwork.
A weak kid's confidence through teamwork and shit, because now the best athlete has to rely on the shitty athlete, because that's how you win the game. Like, so that brings kids together.
Yeah.
Shared struggle.
Shared struggle, exactly.
The 90s, the 90s were an awesome... The 90s and early 2000s were a great time to be a fucking...
It was. It was a very different time. It was just... as much as I love technology, and I mean, technology has changed our lives in so many ways for the better. I mean, it has consumed our lives, and it has changed culture, and it has changed a lot of things. I mean, life was just a lot more... Just think of how rapidly it's changed. I mean, I went to college in 2003, 2004. I didn't have a cell phone. I mean, we had a family cell phone. It was this fucking brick that, like, my dad told me, like, to never use unless it was an emergency, because it costs a fucking arm and a leg to make a call.
I remember in high school, if you were going out for the night, you would just say, Mom, can I take the cell phone out?
Yeah.
Or they'd make you, they'd be like, hey, you're taking the phone if you're going out tonight.
Yeah. I mean, there was a game on it, like a worm game, like a brick build or something.
Brick Breaker.
Yeah. Think, like, and this was in 2003. We're not even 10 years to that. We're beyond 13 years. Holy shit. But just think of how rapidly things have developed in that period of time since then.
And I mean, almost even faster, because I'd say I still had a flip, because I came back, I was living in the South Pacific where that shit technology travels slowly. But when I came back in 2011, I still had a flip phone, which, I mean, there were a few... Most people were on Blackberries by then.
I thought, remember, you had a Blackberry for a while, yeah.
And then I got the Blackberry, like, maybe, I think, late 2011, and I was using the Blackberry until, like, I want to say, like, maybe 2012, like, early 2012. We've gone... And that was when Blackberries were still very common.
Yeah.
If you have BlackBerry now, look how fucking weirdo.
Yeah. Unless you're like an executive or some shit.
I rock the Windows Phone, and this in 2007, 2008, and even up through like 2011 would have been a very advanced piece of Android technology. Yep. Now, this is like a complete piece of shit relative to what most people have.
People pull it out like fucking the thing like the size of a freaking tablet.
Yeah.
Like, this is my phone now. I'm like,
which is absolutely ridiculous. Nobody fucking needs that. You're a fucking asshole if you're into... People who are into new cell phones are fucking dickheads. There's no group of people that more detestable than people who fucking line up waiting for the new iPhone. No one, you never hear anyone lined up waiting for the new Samsung.
No.
Because if you have a Samsung, you're just like, oh yeah, I'll update. Whenever I have an upgrade, I'll upgrade.
Yeah, I'll upgrade.
Fucking iPhone people are the fucking worst.
Staying in line for like days.
If I had like a serious amount of like fuck you money, I would just fucking I would pay homeless guys to camp out at the head of that line.
Yeah.
Buy up all the fucking iPhones, bring them to me. I would pay the homeless guys handsomely for their service, and then I would just go like sell the fucking iPhones on eBay for an exorbitant markup, and then I would destroy some of them and make YouTube videos of me destroying them.
Yeah. Just piss off all the hipsters.
Yeah, all those fucking dickheads. By the way, iPhones are made by like sweatshop labor in fucking China, and the prime users of them are these fucking Occupy assholes.
Yeah.
That's probably
Apple is the prime example of corporatism.
One of my favorite pieces of American hypocrisy. Because Apple has done such a good job of branding itself as like the rebel, outthink different fucking... There is nothing more fucking mainstream than owning a fucking iPhone.
Yeah.
You hipster shit fucks. And this thing about the them with the FBI, by the way, that all the FBI is asking them to do is unlock the phone, which apparently Apple can do. That the FBI is saying, unlock the phone, give us the information, and then you won't hear from us again.
Yeah.
But the line being given by Apple on it is complete fucking bullshit. The reason they don't want to do it is because they're afraid that it'll hurt their brand in other fucking countries, because then if they sell iPhones in China, they won't be able to tell the Chinese to go fuck themselves or anything like that.
Okay.
And it's twofold, because by challenging the U.S. government in the U.S., the hipsters love them even more. So it is entirely possible for Apple to just fucking override this password thing, get in there, give the FBI the information to be done with it, but they don't want to be regularly subpoenaed by governments to do this, because it'll hurt their fucking hipster image. So what they did was they painted it as... They went out publicly and said, like, well, if we do this, it opens a backdoor to every phone. It's fucking bullshit. Like, the Fourth Amendment does not... The Fourth Amendment does not protect your right to hide things.
Is this a national security issue?
It's a massive national security issue. And the Fourth Amendment says you have privacy until we have reason to believe that you no longer deserve that privacy, and then we're like... The cops cannot just walk into this apartment without my permission.
Without a warrant, yeah.
But if the cops show up with a warrant, the cops can come in here.
Yeah.
I mean, how is that fucking different than going into a phone? No, you can't go into everyone's phone. However, this specific phone, you have to give us the information off. That makes a lot of sense to me. Don't tell me that we have the technology to fucking send rovers to Mars, put people on the fucking moon. We got a guy flying around in space for the last year, like, by himself.
Yeah.
We can get into a fucking phone without compromising everyone's security. Yeah. The ability to do this exists. There's no fucking way.
Yeah. Who was it again? It was just like the guy's just like he's got a password protected.
Yeah, and if you try 10 times and fail with the password, it either like wipes the phone clean, or it...
And Apple's developed this technology to allow users to have this ability?
Yes.
Oh, so in case your phone gets stolen or whatever. Okay, I understand.
And then there's that's Apple's encryption technology, and there's all this other shit like WhatsApp and like... I don't know if Facebook Messenger is, but there's a bunch of different messaging platforms that are encrypted as well that they're using to communicate, that these companies like aren't letting people in because it'll fuck up their product. Yeah. And this has nothing to do with privacy rights. If you're committing crimes, you have a right to privacy until there's a warrant issued for the information that you're hiding.
Yeah.
And then we can go after it. You know, I think civil liberties are important. I think you should be able to say what you want to say. People have rights to privacy. Like Hulk Hogan has a right to not have his sex tape.
Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah,
shown by Gawker.
You even talk about that.
Fucking Ahmad bin Ahmad, who's trying to blow up LAX. It doesn't have the right to have his conversation with his cohorts hidden by the Fourth Amendment. Once we once we figure out that you're probably involved in terrorism, and we have reasonable suspicion that you're a criminal, and enough so to get a warrant to get in this fucking shit, then you have to give us the fucking information. And we're going beyond just straight up libertarianism. Like, libertarianism is great until we take it to its idiotic extreme. Unlock the fucking phone.
Yeah, just unlock the phone. Just get the information.
I mean, especially, if think about, like, let's take the Brussels incident and put it in the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
They blow up Newark Airport and a PATH station.
Yeah.
And this is a cell that has ties to actual ISIS. Like, it's not just a homegrown lone wolf extremist.
Yeah.
Would anyone be sitting here saying, you can investigate, but don't you dare compel Apple to help you get into their phone?
No.
Like, we'd be, give us the fucking information. And then people would be saying, why don't we have this information before? Oh, well, Apple doesn't want their fucking brand hurt, and they were afraid to give the information up because then they'd have to do it again and again and again.
Yeah.
And we might actually wind up arresting a brown person as a result of it. I mean, there's not sound fucking logic there.
No.
And what exactly is everyone like? I have nothing to fucking. The worst thing I have to hide is that I look at fucked up videos on the internet and I Google fucked up things out of my own fucking perverse curiosity and interest to see what they look like and find out more about it. Like, and I just assume the same is for you. Like, the average citizen's not involved in criminal activity. I mean, the government doesn't give a shit about you texting your weed guy to pick up a dime bag, or texting, I always said, like, back when I was single, I was like, the worst thing the government's gonna find on me are text messages trying to buy weed and bang fat chicks. Like, that's the worst that you're going to come up with if you hack my shit. Yeah. So, hack away. But why? If it can prevent people from being ripped apart by a suicide bomber, why would we not? You're not sacrificing liberty. This is not something the founding fathers could ever have anticipated. It's the same way the Second Amendment people with the guns and shit. There was no. The machine gun wasn't on Thomas Jefferson's mind. These are things we have to sort of adapt our ways of thinking for the times, and when the average citizen can hold spy-level technology in the palm of their hand and get it, buy it retail, we have to rethink the way we apply, say, the Fourth Amendment or whatever.
Yeah. Exactly. Shit changes.
We live in society in general is very frustrating. Because everyone's an expert, but everyone's also a fucking idiot. And most people are not very... I think Americans are getting dumber and dumber, to be totally honest.
Oh, I totally agree. I mean, like you said, I think it goes all the way back to what you originally hit on was the lack of reading. I mean, so much of our comprehension of anything, our news, everything is fed off of social media nowadays. I mean, how many people print newspaper is like a fucking thing of the past now, but people even just sit down and read a normal news. Everybody reads shit in snippets. Like, you go to Facebook News and you see, something about Bernie Sanders or whatever.
And they don't even read the source. They don't read the article.
They don't read the article.
They comment based on the headline.
Yeah, which if you go into anything, I'm any kind of local news, statewide news, whatever, you go to an article, then you read it, and then you go to the comments, and then there's obviously people in there that just read the headline and just start spouting out some bullshit.
Yeah, it's fucking these, and it's everyone does.
Everybody does it.
I don't even comment. I don't even use my own personal Facebook page to comment on shit anymore. Other than very light stuff like "Happy Birthday" or whatever. Mm-hmm. Because I don't want to be included among this group of idiots who's out there and it's everything from parenting to exercise to politics to pop culture and sports. Facebook just has made me hate everyone.
I don't understand how people could invest so much time into it. I mean, it's crazy.
Oh, I know people who just argue all day on Facebook.
It's like, what are you doing? Like this is your life? Jesus Christ!
Like I use our Savage Shoe page to like stir shit up, but that's to drive fucking page
to buy viewers.
If I didn't have that, I wouldn't do shit. Like same thing with my Twitter account. Like I use it, I tweet a lot, but it's purely to try to get this shit out there where we can have like a good long form discussion on it. Not these fucking idiotic snippets from people. And I mean, it's great to read. I call it hate reading.
Yeah.
I have a bunch of people whose profiles that I go to like on almost a daily basis because they put such stupid shit up that it's almost fun to read and just judge them like, you are a fucking idiot and you don't even realize that right now I'm reading your shit and silently judging you for the fucking moron that you are. Dude, dog. I know a chick she's got like 2 fucking master's degrees and she fucking puts up the most retarded shit from like, you know how like there's like legitimate news sources and then there's like these like just like clickbaity blogs.
Yeah.
She will put shit up from those as though they're legitimate news sources and she'd be like, this is bullshit, like can't believe they're doing this again, like we need to get in there and make a change. Like just like these vague statements of like support or dissent for clickbaity blog posts. It's fucking ridiculous.
Yeah.
It makes me weep for fucking humanity.
Yeah, everybody's got a voice, and I think everything's been dumbed down. Everything is dumbed down. I mean, and you look at it. There's been a migration. I mean, I think I was reading an article. Oh wow, I was reading an actual article, and not just reading the headline. But it was a group of, and it was a while back. But it was a group of, I believe, statisticians and just general analysts within the technology sector that were trying to map out like the timing of the downfall of Facebook. And I think they said somewhere like in 2017, 2018, Facebook users are going to start to drop off because eventually shit gets stale and people move on. And I think someone was explaining to me secondhand was like for the younger crowd, they've all moved on from Facebook. And they're all on Instagram now because it's much simpler. It's a simpler format. It's just post a picture, give a thumbs up, or some stupid fucking comment.
I mean, I almost hope they're right. Like you almost want it to go away. I'm scrolling through my newsfeed right now and like trying to find like idiotic things from idiots. See if I can. It's the week. The problem is it's the weekend, so most people aren't. Yeah. They're not doing news stuff. They're just posting pictures of brunch.
Yeah, they're posting selfies or posting their workout. Because going to the gym these days is a fucking accomplishment.
That's that. I mean, I get if it's enough to get like an out of shape, overweight person into the gym, then I'm cool with it. But yeah, the gym check-ins drive me fucking insane. Let's see. Nothing good.
The food stuff and how many miles I ran. I think I don't know. People put way too much shit out there about their personal lives, and I would be a little more weary of how much shit people put out there about themselves. But
there are people who I haven't spoken to in like 10 fucking years. I know way too much about what's going on in their lives.
There's people like you could might not have seen them in a while, and you could have enough. You don't even have a conversation with them because you know enough about them just through their Facebook posts.
It's frightening. The one fun thing about all the oversharing is watching people get fat and or ugly as they get older.
Yeah,
is a blast. I know that makes me a terrible person, but seeing chicks that you went to college with who like got married right out of the fucking gate from graduation and started popping out kids in their mid-20s, those chicks look the fucking worst.
Yeah.
And they're all like the ones that share like the mommy blogs and shit like that.
And 50,000 pictures of their kids.
And they fucking paid like fucking $40K a year to go to a liberal arts college to then become a fucking housewife.
Yeah.
Jesus, holy shit. There are I know some who are athletes in college who are now like, they were like decent, like nice looking girls. They were like fit, like look good. Disgusting.
Really?
Disgusting. Gross. And I know that makes me like sexist or anti-feminist. I don't care. I think there is a responsibility that a human being has to take a certain amount of care of their body. One, not only just to yourself, because you only get one fucking body.
Yeah.
You have a responsibility to the rest of society to prevent fucking health insurance rates from going through the fucking roof. You have a responsibility, if you have kids or a fucking husband, you have a responsibility to keep yourself reasonably healthy so that they don't have to worry about finances or taking care of your physical care when you get older. And if you're fucking married or in like a long-term relationship, I think you have a responsibility to the person that you're with to keep yourself looking reasonably good.
Yeah.
I'm not saying, like, if you're a mother of 3 and you're in your 40s, pushing 50, whatever, like, I'm not expecting you to be a fucking bikini model, but you should still be taking care of yourself. Like, I see way too many mothers.
Well, just Americans in general, dude.
Oh, yeah, and it's dudes too.
It's everybody.
The suburban dad chic look of the khaki pants, the tucked in golf shirt with the braided belt, and the gut hanging over the side that while wearing, sneakers or whatever. I don't think that's not like fucking acceptable to your partner. Like, how's your fucking wife supposed to be attracted to you still if you let yourself get like that?
It's because it's easy. It's easy to let yourself go. It's easy to eat chips and other crap and just, grab some slices of pizza instead of chicken or fish or steak or whatever.
But how fucking hard is it? I mean, you just saw me, like, while podcasting, I just prepared a tray of chicken thighs, vegetables, and a couple sweet potatoes.
I can't explain it, dude. There's a lot of people that things that me or you or whoever else might see as simple, easy tasks or whatever, that people look at it and they're like, that is just too difficult for me. I don't know. So for some people, it's just difficult working out. I mean, I don't know. Is it mental? Maybe is it physical? I don't know.
I mean, like I look at my parents and like they're not, neither of them is going to be on the cover of a fitness magazine anytime soon. But they both put in the top. Like they eat reasonably healthy, and they both engage in some sort of physical activity every day.
Yeah.
If it's at minimum a walk on the beach or around the neighborhood, or at most, a full-on gym session.
Yeah.
They're doing something and they're not treating their bodies like shit. Like, I don't... Like, you work with people and, I go in and see people 20 years older than me at work and they're eating Chinese food for dinner every night, and there's people my age who are getting sat next to this guy. He works a floor above me now, but sit next to him, he's eating Chipotle and chips every night for fucking dinner, and with a fucking soda. How are you putting that into your like I'll eat if I need like a quick protein and veggies, I'll get like a burrito bowl from Chipotle.
Yeah.
And I'll know I'll go you go double meat, veggies, no rice. Like, you're not doing terrible, but there's still a shitload of sodium and shit in there, obviously.
Yeah.
But every fucking night.
Yeah, every night. Yeah,
First of all, that's like a $12 meal every night just for dinner, which financially I don't fucking understand.
You could make dinner yourself for like $5-6.
I eat a lot, and I spend probably $60 a week on groceries from Monday through Friday, and then it'll cost me like another $20 to $30 maybe over the weekend, and that gets me a shitload of food. I don't know how people who they go to work every day and they eat out every day do that shit.
Yeah, it gets expensive.
That's baffling. I mean, it takes a financial and physical toll. But there's no way you're eating a fucking bag of Chipotle tortilla chips every night and not paying a physical price for it.
No. I mean, it's just
like, that's
garbage.
I mean, we were talking about the cuckold shit before, and like guys whose dicks barely function. I mean, that's a huge part of it. Like, you and I take very good care. Like, between diet, supplementation, and exercise, we take very good care of ourselves. And I mean, my shit functioned pretty solidly as a result of that. I would assume yours does as well.
Yeah.
The most hesitant yeah ever. I'm assuming through diet and supplementation.
Yeah, no, I mean, and with anything, I mean...
Like, better than average, right? Like, I got to assume, like... Unless, I mean, obviously I'm not talking about, like, if you're on, like, a cycle of, or, like, coming off, like, some sort of anabolic, or some of our bodybuilding friends.
Yeah,
they might hit...
From a general health perspective, it's guys who get enough exercise, mix of cardiovascular and weights or whatever, you're an athlete, you know, and eating correctly and getting the biggest thing for males, a lot of guys just don't get enough healthy fats in. Not enough healthy fats.
Healthy fats, I'd say healthy fats, good carbs.
Good carbs,
and zinc's the other one.
Zinc is another one, yeah.
People don't know about the zinc.
Yeah.
Zinc is huge.
Vitamin D, magnesium, zinc, yeah.
Your ability to sleep is, if you're not waking up with or getting, like, an erection at least a couple times a day, like, I think you gotta assess what you're doing nutritionally. But, like, that feeds into it. Like, if you got, like, a fucking gut sticking out and can barely see your dick, like, they say for, like, every few pounds or every percentage of body fat you lose, you actually gain, like, a half inch on your like, erect penis size, because there's no fat there anymore, and the blood flows better.
Oh, I never heard that.
And I can testify to this, because when I was doing a lot of, like, powerlifting, I got up to, like, 230. I was a fucking goon, but I was also carrying a lot of, like, abdominal fat. And, like, fat in my face. I'm down to, like, I'm at 195 now and much healthier looking. But, like, there's been an absolute difference in between that size that I was and where I'm at now in the frequency and strength and my ability to get erections. Like, now, like, when I get hard, like, it's like a straight up fucking rock. Like, I realize part of that's from, I take the, GNC makes, it's called, Staminol. It's like a men's multi that has, like, Yohimbe and some other stuff. Obviously, that plays a role, gets the blood pumping a little bit better. But, like, the erections I get now versus when I was that size are, I mean, it's like night and fucking day.
Yeah.
And part of that for me was, like, that was, like, an impetus to lose some weight, because I was reading about it, I was like, oh shit, like, that's for real, like, and, like, I remember, like, a couple times, like, I banged chicks, and, like, yeah, like, it was working, but it wasn't like, I wasn't, like, the fucking, like, the beast that, like, it was when you're, like, 19 years old and just popping chubs, like, left and right. And I was like, I should probably get in a little bit better shape, and lo and behold, like, the more weight I lost, the better cardiovascular shape I got into, like, the better my dick seemed to work.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a huge part, like, that's part of, like, if you're, like, a married couple, like, taking care of yourself for your partner so that you still sexually function or still sexually attractive. They say women don't reach their sexual, like, don't start to hit their sexual stride until they're around 30.
I think
sort of like because I guess they have to get more comfortable into their bodies or whatever.
That's the biggest thing,
So, like, if you're I think as you get older, I think it actually increases your value as a mate or as a partner by taking care of yourself into your older years. Like, you look on Facebook now, you see guys that you, like, grew up with, and, like, they're starting to let themselves go.
And you can't. And I mean, it's hard. I mean, anyone will admit. I mean, you're married, you got kids, you got a stressful job. I mean, it's not easy to juggle all these things, but you've got to find some time. And I mean, unless, like, you tell me, like, I get up at 5 in the morning and commute to work and don't get home till 7, 8 o'clock at night. Yeah, I understand that sounds fucking miserable. And you got to do what you got to do, but you know,
buy a fucking jump rope.
Yeah,
get a kettlebell for your house.
You know, if your office has a gym or something, you know, instead of taking your lunch break, you know, go to the gym and you know, eat at your desk. You know, eat your lunch during the course of the day. I don't know. You gotta You got to do. It's not even just for. It's for yourself. It's for your general health. It's so you can live long enough, to enjoy life to some extent.
To watch your daughter get married, watch your kids graduate, and even if it's just about getting to a point where you can have like a livable old age. If they say some of the best years of your life are after retirement, you essentially have. If you do it right, say you retire between 65 and 70, which I'd assume is probably most of our parents try to retire, and you've taken care of yourself, and you can make it into your mid-late 90s, which I think the life expectancy is starting to slip back down, but I think that's because people are treating their bodies like shit.
Yeah, that's. I was talking about this actually yesterday, and I was saying the advancements in medicine. And I like you said, I think it's just people are treating themselves like shit.
Yeah.
Eating like shit, more stress.
People are dying.
And they're killing themselves.
People die now of chronic illnesses. This is the first time in human history that people have died of chronic illnesses. There was no such thing as chronic illnesses in the past because people didn't treat their bodies like fucking shit. There was no McDonald's 200 years ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, if you can... With the medical technology and advancements that we have, I mean, we're knocking on the doorstep of defeating most cancers.
Yeah. If you haven't watched the Vice
thing was
episode
amazing.
About cancer, I recommend everybody watch it. It's unbelievable.
A whole unfucking real.
Yeah. So as much as anyone and as much as anyone might criticize the state of healthcare in this country, the advancements being made in this country and all over the world. That are driven by capitalism because people aren't going to do shit if they don't make money for it.
If we don't, there's no incentive. People aren't going to do it.
But there are researchers and scientists out there working tirelessly to find fucking cures, and they're getting close. They're getting close.
I mean, AIDS is on the fucking run.
Yeah,
HIV is no longer a death sentence.
I was reading about one guy who moderates a forum I go to who's been living with AIDS since 1985, and the dude is in phenomenal shape. And he actually has like a strain of HIV that I think is resistant to most medications. So he's been on various medications over the years. But yeah, there's look at where we were in the 80s where it was like a fucking epidemic. I mean, people just dying everywhere.
It was a death sentence.
It was a death sentence. And then now today it's like, oh, he's got HIV. Yeah, it seems he's gonna be fine.
Just take your medicine.
Yeah, take your medicine.
Right now, HIV, if you can afford the medicine, is no longer a death sentence. So I think the goal then is, let's get that fucking medicine to everyone, and AIDS is on the run, cancer's on the run. If we can stop killing ourselves through stupidity and mistreating our bodies, medical science and technology is going to get us the rest of the way to the point where you should be able to live. I mean, I think people, by the time we get into old age, I don't think it would be ridiculous to expect people to be living past 100.
No, I think that'll become more the norm.
Especially because if you look at the way, look at the way technology has advanced. Every time we develop, it's exponential. It's not like it's like a slow moving thing. Like once we sort of figured out technology on this planet, it moved very rapidly.
Yeah, it explodes.
I mean, what once took decades now takes months. Yeah. So I have to think that by the time we get to, the year 2050, we're going to be doing some nifty shit if we haven't destroyed the planet or each other.
Yeah, there's going to be some crazy shit going on.
Or if our alien overlords haven't come down and just been like, all right, guys, fucking game over. We've been watching for a while, and you clearly are not worthy of this planet anymore. So we're going to execute all of you right now with this big ray gun, and we're going to suck the natural resources from Earth and fly back to our galaxy. Because you guys have been fucking up. Yeah. You elected this Trump character a few years ago, and we just can't have any more of your fucking shenanigans. So sorry, Earthlings.
The ancient aliens are coming back, and it's like, you guys ruined everything we tried to design for you.
We're gonna we're gonna round up a couple of your best and brightest. You guys get to live, and you're gonna love where you're going. It's fucking great. We figured it out. We thought you were going to too, but apparently not.
You're fucking idiots, and you're gonna die.
Yeah, it's fucking. Oh man, we are fucking. Humans are fucking. humans are so interesting and so good at so much, but we're also so shitty at so much. Like, the wrong people are reproducing, I think.
Oh, in leaps and bounds, the wrong people.
I was down doing my buddy's christening. I was the unofficial godfather. I was talking to them about, like, you know, they started talking about how, like, there are women who have, like, a timeline for, like if they're pushing, like, 30 some odd and they're not, like, married yet, like, whatever guy they're dating, they'll just push marriage on because they want to get fucking married so they can have kids and, like, start a family because the biological... We can freeze eggs now.
Yeah, we can freeze eggs, we can freeze sperm.
Yeah. Like, we can stop being dumb about things. Like, use the technology we have. Like, there's so many stupid people reproducing, and, like, that's what's always baffled me about the Republicans who want to defund Planned Parenthood and shit like that. Like, why do you... Planned Parenthood helps us prevent stupid people from being born. Because normal, intelligent people generally don't have mistake babies.
Yeah.
Because they're on birth control, they pull out, they're smart enough that if there's a mistake, they go get the morning after pill.
You forget we have Plan B now, which we didn't have years ago.
They'll give the kid up for adoption, or if they do have an unplanned baby, they're at least in a position where they can provide for it, get it educated. So what Planned Parenthood exists to do is it helps us fight STDs, and it helps us prevent stupid people from having babies. I don't get why... I mean, I guess the Republican Party thinks that if all of a sudden we stop the reproduction of stupid people, they won't have anyone left to vote for them, is the only fucking thing that I could think of. Because I understand that they use the whole Jesus argument, because the fucking Jesus Christ doesn't want the babies to be aborted. But fuck, man, it's a drain on the economy for poor people to have kids. None of it. It doesn't make sense for people who don't have money or people who don't have brains to be putting more children into the plan. Like people say it's a right to reproduce. Yes, it is your right, but maybe some people shouldn't exercise that right.
And it's you see it. There are pockets and areas in this country that there is a real problem with teen pregnancy, and I'm talking like we're not talking like 18-year-old. We're talking like 12 to 15 years old, like popping out multiple kids. It's nuts. I mean, there are some health plans and various payers throughout the country are trying to work with different manufacturers to get IUDs implanted in more young females because, people do shit, and, the consequence is not just that young girl or young guy that brought this kid into the world. It's their fucking parents, it's the taxpayers, it's everybody else who's got to pay the consequence when this kid comes out, and,
And not to mention, you're fucking the kid over too.
You're putting the kid into a fucking shit position.
If you abort a fetus when it's in the womb, I know it's a sad thought. It's not a happy thing to think about. But at the same time, this is not anything. I mean, it doesn't have what we would call a soul. It hasn't experienced life. Yeah. Do you remember when you were in utero? Like, no. I don't think I remember anything. I think I have, like, flashes, maybe, of my earliest memories from, like, 3 or 4.
Yeah, I'm thinking
that's
2 or 3 years old.
And that's maybe, like... Yeah. And when I'm talking, like, a flash of a memory, like...
Yeah, flash of
with no context whatsoever.
I can't remember anything beyond earlier than, like, 3 years old.
So, I don't get where this moral opposition to abortion comes from. I don't think you don't have to like it. You don't have to like the. It's it's an unsettling idea, but you don't. That doesn't mean you should prevent people from doing it. Mm-hmm. I think liberal abortion laws exist for the betterment of society because they prevent people in poor. It's poor whites and poor ethnics. You go to redneck areas where people don't have a lot of money, and it's black and Hispanic areas in the inner cities where people don't have a lot of money. That unwanted children are occurring because there's not a lot of reproductive intelligence, and all of a sudden, a 14-year-old has to care for a toddler. And that is not helpful. I gotta take a piss. I'm gonna grab another beer if you wanna talk to the microphone.
Yeah. I mean, it's a little odd. Maybe I could try to pause this real quickly. Does
it keep going? It keeps going. Oh,
okay.
wow.
Alright.
I just learned something new about Audacity. I didn't... Yeah, sometimes you have to, like, start, like, which even that's not even, like, a huge problem. To start a fresh recording is paste the two together. But, yeah, that's, like... This Audacity that we use is a very bootleg program, so, like, certain tech things go, like, way over its fucking head.
Yeah.
You said you want a beer?
No, I'm good, thank you.
Oh, yeah. What are we at? Oh, we're at like 2 hours now, too.
Yeah, we've covered a lot.
It's like our longest show to date. What's going on with the band?
Not too much. We played a show on Friday night.
Where at?
Mexicali Live.
Was that Teaneck?
Yeah, Teaneck.
How is that place?
It's a cool venue. They have a pretty large stage, and it's just got a bar in the back, and they serve Mexican food. So it's.
Is it? What's the crowd there like? Is it dependent on who's playing?
It's it's really the state of the music scene around here is like you have local bands playing. They're really only bringing their own fan base, so to speak.
Yeah.
A lot of these places thrive off of those bands bringing in people. I know they do some like national touring acts who come in, like smaller things. They do a lot of comedy shows, so I'm sure. I think like Quiet Riot was there last year, and they filled up the room. I think they could do a couple hundred people in the place. So yeah, it's a smaller venue. But I was actually at this one place in the city in Manhattan 2 weeks ago.
Were you guys playing?
No, I went for some benefit thing at the Cutting Room.
I've heard of it.
Yeah, I think the guy Mr. the Big from Sex and the City.
Yeah,
that actor is.
He got great hair.
Yeah, he owns that place. And that was a very, very nice venue, but that was another place, you got national touring acts, and, it's more of like a sit down and eat dinner and, listen to live music. It's not, not go there and get shit-faced and, rock out. But.
Do you guys have anything coming up?
No, nothing. No.
Jesus Christ, I want to get out to a fucking Synertia show. I think, is... Your brother, I think, has one at Maxwell's in Hoboken, a Rhino show coming up at the end of April or May or some shit. Yeah, I haven't seen you out today at a Rhino show.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I just haven't been around.
We got to get. It's fun because you get to see. You get like all like that great like Glen Rock Muhlenberg mix of characters. Everyone's always blacked the fuck out. You know, plenty of pre-show smoking and coking going on. It's usually a good time. Their Christmas show at Maxwell's is a fucking blast.
Yeah.
I think that might be that was probably the last time I saw them. They showed it. I shared it on our Facebook page. I guess your brother and Bobby and all them had it up on Facebook. This new logo that they had drawn up. Have you seen it?
No, I haven't.
That's fucking nice. Check this thing out. Let me give it a peek here. It looks like have you ever gone on the store on Rogan's website? He sells like T-shirts and shit.
No.
What's it called? Yeah, he has like this line called like Higher Primate, where he's got all sorts of like fucking wacky ass imagery and shit.
Some of these Facebook news things that come up.
Yeah, check out this fucking logo they had going.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
That's fucking balls, isn't it?
Some of these like trending news topics is like I don't even want to discuss it.
What do you got now? What do you got? What's
no? One of them's like
there's nothing we should. This show is all about.
AJ McLean from the Backstreet Boys says that Ryan Gosling is a better singer than Justin Timberlake.
Why does anyone fucking care about that? Yeah, that's what I hate about social. Like, I guess it's weird because Facebook the way they used to do it was perfect with just .edu email addresses.
Yeah.
But then they would have lost their user base every year because people would be graduating and not have an .edu email address to use. So they had to open it up to the entire planet for the business model to survive.
Yeah.
But in doing so, they have also completely ruined the fucking product.
Yeah. And the other thing here is Robert De Niro is apparently taking a lot of shit.
Oh, this
because he's airing
pro-vaccination.
No, anti-vaccination.
No, I thought it was pro.
Responsive critics of anti-vaccination.
Oh yeah, yeah, no, yeah, that's just, yeah, you're right. No, he was pro-anti-vaccine.
Yeah, pro-anti-vaccine. Yeah,
tripped over that one.
So people are going ape shit about that.
Well, it's fucking. I mean, come on, like, how the fuck are you not going to vaccinate your kid? Like, you are bringing back diseases that were eradicated because you listened to Jenny McCarthy, basically.
Yeah, and then you got yeah, I don't even want to get into it.
Get into it, Gary. That's why.
I really have no opinion on it.
Really, I mean, you've been so deep into the supplementation and nutrition and health thing.
Yeah, I don't know. I've been out of the loop with this
Figured you'd be able to weigh in. Well, I get the argument is that they say like vaccination has correlated with like a cause and a rise of autism cases, but there was a study done that found that was a load of shit, and I think the sort of prevailing opinion on all of that is that it's not that vaccination causes it, it's that we now diagnose things like autism far more aggressively than we did in the past. And parents just kind of drew like a ridiculous conclusion based on that. Parents are fucking lunatics, man. Fucking Generation X sucks at raising kids.
Yeah. Yeah, they're way too hands-on. Way too hands-on.
It's because their parents were so fucking hands-off. What a nice time to grow up that must have been. Show up home from after school, fucking nobody there.
Yeah.
The best, like, you and I never really got this because our moms were teachers, and like my dad be home at 11 in the morning because of his job.
Yeah.
So like we never got like the full out like freedom that other kids had after school.
Ultimate freedom.
Some kids had like their parents like didn't get off of work until 5, which meant they weren't getting home until like 7. Like I remember going to hang out at kids' houses like that. It was fucking awesome.
Yeah, they had all the freedom.
Like you would just go, like usually
latchkey kids,
like lounge out on like couches in the living room, like eating chips and shit, watching fucking MTV. Like the TRL would be on. Oh, fucking great. Fuck. All right. Anything else you want to touch on before we wrap up, Gar?
Nah, I think you see a bunch of the same bullshit. I mean, it's nothing really that stands out.
Alrighty then, we're gonna try to start bringing in guests. I've started to put together like a short list of people to bring in. So maybe if we can get together, hopefully maybe late April to do another one. I'll try to get somebody in to chill out and talk with us. Until then, on Facebook, The Savage Crew, Patrick Bateman's the avatar. If you don't know who he is, you go fuck yourself and you get yourself a copy of American Psycho to watch, and then you'll know who Patrick Bateman is. Same thing on Twitter, at The Savage Crew. You get me on Twitter as well, at Mike Montone. And tell your fucking friends about this podcast. It's word of mouth. It's a great way to spread the show to other people who agree with our shit and hate fucking society. And keep listening. Thank you. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
I'm gonna come.